Hey, Grand Adventurers, welcome back. I'm your host, Mark Guido, and we're spending this week camping, kayaking, and more among the wild horses on Assateague Island National Seashore. So come along. Assateague Island National Seashore, a unit of the National Park Service, occupies the vast majority of a 37-mile barrier island along the Atlantic Ocean, straddling Maryland and Virginia. The only access to the seashore's Maryland district is via the Verrazano Bridge on Maryland Route 611. Assateague represents the largest natural barrier island ecosystem in the mid-Atlantic that remains predominantly unaffected by human development. That's precisely why we wanted to come here, to enjoy a unique opportunity to experience the mid-Atlantic coastline in its natural state. More than 41,000 acres of land and water are within the seashore's boundaries, not just Atlantic Ocean beaches, but also dunes lining the beaches and marsh islands on the island's bayside. Despite being 37 miles long, Assateague Island is never more than a mile wide, built from sand moving south via longshore drift building the island's length. The source of the sand is erosion and runoff from the Appalachian Mountains. The island was connected to Ocean City on Fenwick Island until the 1933 Chesapeake-Potomac hurricane split the two. Assateague Island is also moving westward as a result of natural barrier processes during storms. Water washes over the island, sending beach sand backwards towards the bay, a condition most pronounced at the northern end of the island, where Ocean City's jetties, built following the 1933 storm, have stabilized Fenwick Island and have starved Assateague of new sand. Given our anticipation for visiting Assateague, imagine our extreme disappointment when, after arriving in gorgeous weather on Sunday, conditions began to rapidly deteriorate on Monday as a result of potential Tropical Cyclone 8 brewing off the southeastern coast, with its effects projected to linger until our departure on Saturday. Strong winds, blowing sand, and persistent rain would dominate our 6-day visit to Assateague Island. I'm particularly disappointed because this is perhaps the place on our 2024 itinerary that I've been most anticipating kayaking. The National Seashore is divided into its Maryland and Virginia districts. The park's Maryland district includes the Assateague Island National Seashore Visitor Center, 2 campgrounds, 3 nature trails, a lifeguarded beach, and park headquarters, all located near the island's northern end. vast majority of Assateague Island remains completely undeveloped. South of its developed portion, the remainder of the Seashores Maryland District is an oversand vehicle, or OSV area. Permits are available on an annual basis for driving on the beach to fish. Before the National Seashore was created in 1965, the island was going to be turned into a private resort community called Ocean Beach, Maryland. However, the Ash Wednesday storm of 1962 halted the plans for development. The nor'easter destroyed the few existing structures on the island that had been built and ripped the roads apart. Realizing that the island was too unstable to build upon, the housing development firm sold all of its land to the federal government. Even today, it's not possible to drive down the island between the Seashores, Maryland, and Virginia districts. All automobile traffic must travel through the mainland to access one end of the island from the other. The Park Service maintains 148 dry campsites for both tents and RVs, all within the Maryland District. We're enjoying a highly sought-after oceanside dry campsite on the west side of the main dune for $40 per night, which we had to book the second the reservation window opened in spring. I had to shoot this busy crab through the screen, for every time I walked outside, he'd disappear into his home. Bayside campsites are also available on a peninsula projecting into Assiniboine Bay. although those sites are more plagued by mosquitoes and biting greenhead flies than the oceanside campsites. The Maryland State Park at Assateague Island's northern end also includes a large campground with 342 individual sites in multiple loops. 2 of those loops have 30 amp electrical hookups. Despite the weather that has plagued our visit to Assateague, there's something about falling asleep to the sound of giant waves crashing upon the beach. Our sleep here has also been enhanced by our quality RV mattress from our video sponsor, Brooklyn Bedding. Improve your sleep while camping with a new RV mattress from our video sponsor, Brooklyn Bedding. They offer 4 different mattress constructions in 21 different sizes, depending on preference and price point. Everything from standard queen to all of those funky, odd RV sizes. Brooklyn Bedding manufactures all of its mattresses right at their factory in Arizona. And RVmattress.com ships them right to your door for free, all rolled up and compressed in a vacuum seal. Just cut the wrap to unroll the mattress onto your bed, then cut the vacuum seal. For our mattress, Brooklyn Bedding starts with a layer of high-density foam for a supported base. Just above the base, an 8-inch core of over 1,000 individually encased coils provides the essential support. Immediately above the coils is a 1-inch layer of memory foam and 2-inch layer of hyper-elastic TitanFlex foam. Finally, at the very top is a 1.5-inch layer of antimicrobial CopperFlex foam with TitanCool, which is designed to maintain an ideal sleep body temperature of 88 degrees. Every RV mattress from Brooklyn Bedding comes with a 10-year warranty and a 120-night sleep trial. Visit rvmattress.com/grandadventure and use code GRANDADVENTURE to get a full 30% off your entire order. Yellowstone may have its bear jams, but Assateague Island National Seashore has horse jams. Bands of feral horses freely roam Assateague Island. Out west, you'd have to work to find roaming herds of wild horses. But here on Assateague Island, they seem to pop up virtually everywhere. Two herds on the island are kept separate by a fence at the Maryland-Virginia border. The Maryland herd is treated as wildlife and are not rounded up or removed from the island, nor do they receive veterinary care, although the National Park Service uses birth control administered via a dart to keep the size of the herd within 80 to 100 horses. Legend states their ancestors were survivors of a Spanish galleon that shipwrecked along the coast, and DNA evidence indicates the modern population includes the closest living descendants of Spanish horses brought to the Americas in the early 1500s. The salty, low-nutrient diet of the salt marsh grasses has resulted in the horses' short stature and bloated abdomens. Rangers write citations for visitors who were seen petting, feeding, or simply moving within 40 feet of the horses, although that goes both ways. We've witnessed the horses approaching, harassing, and begging our neighboring campers. Someone needs to write the horses a ticket. someone want to let these guys know that water's not potable? Today, we're heading out on a drive to see the Virginia district of Assateague Island National Seashore. You can't drive down Assateague Island, so visiting the Virginia district from the Maryland district requires a 60-mile detour across the mainland and around the bay. The Virginia district extends from the Maryland state line south to the Chincoteague Inlet, and access is via a bridge from adjacent Chincoteague Island, where you're immediately greeted by the historic Assateague Lighthouse. This 142-foot tall lighthouse was constructed in 1867 to replace a shorter 45-foot tower built in 1833 at what was once the island's southern tip. However, shifting sands have grown Assateague Island southward by more than 5 miles since then. This area of Assateague Island is designated as the Chincoteague National Wildlife Refuge and is managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. However, the National Park Service operates a recreational beach, life-guarded area, and visitor center within a 1-mile parking and visitor use section. The refuge presents a short wildlife loop to enjoy deer, migratory birds, and their own separate herd of wild horses known as Chincoteague ponies. Alas, we didn't spot any of these horses during our brief visit to the Virginia district. The town of Chincoteague is a tourist gateway to the wildlife refuge. Chincoteague was itself a barrier island until the mid-1800s, when Assateague migrated so far south that it shielded Chincoteague from the ocean. The first land grant for 1,500 acres on Chincoteague was issued in 1650, making Daniel Jennifer the first English landowner here. Today, the town features numerous small hotels, bed and breakfasts, and campgrounds that serve visitors to the region, many of whom come when NASA launches rockets from the nearby Wallops Flight Facility to resupply the International Space Station. Immediately following a quick ad break, we'll visit the charming nearby Eastern Shore town of Berlin, as well as the popular beach vacation destination of Ocean City, so stay tuned. On the mainland, just across the Verrazano Bridge from Assateague, lies the charming Maryland Eastern Shore community of Berlin. Originally the 300-acre Burley Plantation patented in 1677, it became an important crossroads of colonial highways, leading to Philadelphia and elsewhere. Berlin developed in the early 19th century with a tavern named Burley Inn, from which the town gained its name. A blacksmith shop and livery were also among the first established businesses in the new town. After a fire in 1895 leveled a significant portion of the central commercial district, Victorian structures were erected along Main Street. The rise of nearby Ocean City as a tourist destination in the early 20th century also aided Berlin's economy by making the town a convenient rest stop. Since the late 1980s, the town has undergone considerable revitalization of its historic downtown commercial district. Of course, Berlin provided the opportunity to continue to enjoy local seafood. Berlin also provided the opportunity to meet up with viewers and YouTubers Debbie and Andy of the YouTube channels Less Work, More Camping and Grillin' and Chillin' with Deb over an exceptional hazy IPA at Cinnapunxet Brewing. We had a great time getting to know one another, as well as the brewery's resident goats. Up to 8 million visitors descend each summer upon Ocean City, a short 13-mile drive from our campground. Businessman Isaac Coffin built the first beachfront cottage here to receive paying guests in 1869, starting what would eventually become one of the Mid-Atlantic's most popular shoreline destinations. The Atlantic Hotel, the first major hotel in the town, opened in 1875. Today, Ocean City is a bustling beachfront vacation destination, with innumerable hotels, condos, restaurants, and bars, along with a substantial boardwalk and amusement pier. The breezy conditions are hanging tough, but the skies have unexpectedly cleared on our final day, so I'm going to take a shot at getting the kayak out on Cinnapunxet Bay. Between this week's inhibiting weather and the fact that I haven't been on the water since Bar Harbor, Maine 7 weeks ago, I'm determined to make a go of it despite the wind. I'm launching from the old ferry landing in the National Seashore, just a quarter mile or so immediately to the west of our campsite. Here, next to visitors fishing, crabbing, and clamming, extensive salt marshes and numerous marsh islands shelter narrow channels from the brisk prevailing winds, although it's still gusting out on the open bay. This week's persistent winds have combined with the king tide to lead to some minor coastal flooding. Look carefully in that dead tree over there. Paddling through these salt marshes is like trying to navigate a corn maze. The conditions may not have been perfect, but I'm enormously grateful to have finally been given the opportunity to kayak Assateague Island. We hope that you've enjoyed visiting Assateague Island National Seashore with us. Now, coming up next week, we're going to try something completely different and camp in an active drive-in movie theater. So if you're not yet a Grand Adventurer, now is the time for you to go smash that little subscribe button right down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and ring that notification bell to be sure that you never miss a Grand Adventure, which we premiere right here every Wednesday evening. We'd be honored if you shared the channel with your friends, family, and on social media. Understand, it is extremely important to us that if you liked this episode, please be sure to give us a big thumbs up down below. And while you're down below, that's where you're going to find the comment section where we'd love to hear from you each and every week. So until next Wednesday, from a drive-in theater in North Carolina, please remember life is nothing but a grand adventure. We'll see you then.